Most people who have spent their entire careers as congressional reporters have never had a reason to ask a question like this.
Representative Garcia is going to be introducing a resolution to expel you from Congress this afternoon. Do you have any comment on that?
That's his prerogative.
There have been 12,506 members of the House of Representatives in its 234-year history, and exactly 5 of them have been expelled by the House of Representatives. 3 of those 5 were expelled for participation in the Civil War, fighting against the United States of America. So there really have been only 2 members of the House of Representatives who were expelled for something other than waging war against the United States. George Anthony DeVolder Santos is moving at astonishingly high speed to become the 3rd member of the House of Representatives expelled for behavior that does not include waging war against the United States. Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California filed a 1-sentence resolution in the House of Representatives today resolving that, quote, Representative George Santos be, and he hereby is expelled from the House of Representatives. It is not yet clear how that resolution might come to a vote in the House, where the voting agenda on the House floor is normally controlled by Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
We've been talking, of course, to House Republicans. We already know many of those who have already asked for his resignation, and so we're going to get this onto the floor, and we're going to expel George Santos. If this doesn't leave House Ethics, or McCarthy chooses not to move this onto the floor for a vote, then there's other ways, now that this has started, for us to force this onto the floor.
And the new George Santos scandal of the day was reported by Politico today, saying George Santos was criminally charged with fraud in Pennsylvania when he was accused of writing bad checks in Pennsylvania in 2017. The purpose of those checks, according to the memo line of each check, was puppies. George Santos eventually had the charges dismissed in 2021. After his first campaign for Congress. Joining us now is one of the Democrats who introduced that resolution to expel George Santos today, Representative Becca Balint from Vermont. She's also a member of the House Oversight Committee. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is the fastest move toward expulsion of a member of the House that we've ever seen. What is the next step here?
So the next step is really pushing to have Republican leadership finally hold this person accountable for his actions. He has carried out tremendous fraud against his constituents. You've had in the last few weeks members of Congress on the Republican side saying that he should not be there. Of course, we had Mitt Romney saying that last night. We have to restore some kind of faith in government. We're at an all-time low here. Having someone in Congress that we absolutely cannot trust is not going to help us rebuild that trust with the American people.
And you can go straight to the vote. There's nothing that requires any kind of House Ethics Committee investigation before a vote like this.
Absolutely, because we already have numerous instances that he has admitted that his resume was fabricated. And, you know, I just want to say, we want to get folks on the record. We want to get the Republican leadership on the record. Is it right to have someone serving alongside us that clearly has been dishonest with his constituents and the American people? Is it not true that we need some kind of integrity in holding people accountable? And as an openly gay member of Congress in this 118th, you know, I and my colleagues, whether they are of the LGBTQ community or whether they're not, many of us ran on the same issues, which is having a clarity of purpose, bringing this democracy back to a healthy place post January 6th. This does not help us to do that.
I want to take a look at some of the work you did yesterday in yesterday's Republican House hearing about Twitter. Apparently, they're going to have hearings about Twitter every day. Let's take a look at this.
Were any decisions approved or acted upon based on the political party making the request?
No, our teams were trained to enforce our rules consistently and fairly without regard to any sort of political ideology.
Thank you. So I believe that what's happening here is my Republican colleagues know that the premise of this whole hearing is misleading. There is no evidence that the Biden campaign had anything to do with the Hunter Biden New York Post story. And the evidence we do have simply shows that the Biden campaign did what the Trump campaign and millions of Twitter users do routinely.
It seems like you're going to be in a series of hearings like that all year.
Unfortunately, yes, I believe we are. But as our ranking member, Jamie Raskin, has said to us, we have to be a voice of truth and reason on that committee. And we have to make sure that we hold our colleagues responsible and accountable when they make false statements within that committee. And we're going to have to check them every single time. We have to restore some kind of semblance of integrity to government. And I see that committee as one important place in which we can do that.